Here are two questions for you. First, how important is audio in making YouTube videos? And second, do you have to spend a lot of money on microphones and equipment to get really good audio? Now, the answer to the first is that audio is absolutely important in making videos, YouTube or otherwise. With lousy audio, people will tune you out in a hurry. But the answer to the second question is you really don't have to spend that much money to get quality audio these days. Nearly anybody can afford it. Today we'll do another behind-the-scenes look at Beat Diabetes, and we'll consider how I do my audio and the mics that I use. When I talked to you a couple of weeks ago about cameras, I told you that using a good camera that can record 4K video has tremendous advantages. And sadly, to get a quality 4K camera, it's still pretty expensive, although prices are coming down. But in today's video, we'll talk about microphones and audio equipment, and we'll see that you can get by spending far less money for great sound than you can for great video. Now, I have to admit, I think microphones are cool. I just love looking at mics, watching YouTube reviews of mics, and drooling over mics as I check them out on Amazon. The truth is, I find mics far more interesting than cameras. And I've collected quite a few mics over the last few years, and most of them cost less than $100. But before we talk about microphones, let's consider where the mics actually send the sound. My mics do not have lines that run directly into my camera. I never record that way. I send a line from my mics into this little baby, which is a Zoom H1n digital recorder. My camera is recording an audio signal while I'm doing my videos, but I never use that signal that my camera records. I run a line from my mics into my Zoom recorder, and I get far better sound than I ever could with my camera mic. The simplest way to do this, and the main way I did it when I first started making videos, is to get a lav mic that you wear on your shirt and run its cable into the recorder, which you can usually keep out of sight by putting it in your pocket or on the floor, or sometimes I use a holster and keep my recorder at belt level. The first lav mic I bought was the Giant Squid mic, and that's what you're hearing right now. That's what I've got here pinned on my shirt. It comes out at my waistline. The line runs underneath my shirt so it doesn't look sloppy. And I paid about $50 for the Giant Squid mic, and to my thinking it sounds about as good as a lav mic can, given my limited audio editing skill. I'll put links to all the mics in the description notes if you want to check out their specs or possibly order them. You've been hearing this Giant Squid mic up till now, and it is my favorite lav mic. I do have two others, the JK MicJ 044 lav mic, which is almost as good, and you can get that for around $30. And the Sony ECMCS3 Lav Mic, which is also almost as good as the Giant Squid, and you can get this bad boy for around $20. So here's a test of the Sony Lav Mic so you can hear what it sounds like. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And here's a sample of what the JK MicJ 044 Lav Mic sounds like. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. So there's no reason for anyone who does YouTube videos to sound like this using their camera mic. Just pay $20 or $30 or $50 for a lav mic, put it a few inches down your shirt, not too far, and run it into a recorder like the Zoom H1n, and you will have improved your audio tremendously. Let me say a few things about the Zoom recorder. It costs around $100, but it is a tremendous investment. And as long as you don't drop it on a concrete floor, it should last for a long, long time. There are other recorders that do a nice job as well, of course, but my experience is mainly with these little $100 Zoom recorders. You run your 1/8 inch jack into the line-in port, And with these three mics I've mentioned, the Giant Squid, the Sony, and the JK MicJ, you don't even need a battery. They run off the tiny little bit of power that the Zoom recorder provides, which is called plug-in power. Adjust your volume so you're not clipping, and you've got a very nice sound. Now, you might be worried about how in the world can you join the sound from the Zoom recorder with the video that your camera records. But with most video editors these days, you can automatically sync those two files in a few seconds. You don't even have to line up the audio waves. You don't have to use a clapboard or clap 3 times. Just highlight the camera's video clip and the digital recorder's audio clip and tell your video editor to sync them, and bam! Within a couple of seconds, they're joined together perfectly. So when you're watching me on the YouTube videos, the video that you're seeing and the audio that you're hearing are actually coming from 2 separate sources. But they've been joined together so seamlessly that you would never know it if you didn't know it. But of course now you do know it. So for $120 to $150, you can get a digital recorder and a very fine lav mic and have a quite nice sound. Now sometimes when you watch my videos, you'll notice I'm not wearing a mic and there's no mic anywhere near me. So how am I recording the sound? The answer is that I'm usually using another kind of mic called a pencil mic or a small diaphragm mic, and it is on a boom stand just out of your sight, just above me right here. Now this particular mic is called the ISK Little Gem mic, and I just love it. It produces a much fuller, richer sound than the lav mics do. The lav mics are good, but this kind of a mic, this pencil mic, takes the audio to a higher level. And the cool thing about this mic is that it gives me a great sound for the scrawny price of $50. I consider this probably the best bang for the buck of any of my mics. Now because this mic is an XLR mic, it uses a different, larger cable, and it cannot run into my Zoom recorder. Normally, I run the cable from this mic into a small mixing board made by Behringer. I use the control knobs to adjust the tones a bit to satisfy me. I decrease the high and the mid frequencies a little bit, and I increase the low frequencies a little. The resulting sound is very pleasing to me. You say, well, how do you record the sound? Well, after it goes into the mixing board, then I run a line from the mixing board back into my Zoom H1n recorder. So I just love this little setup with this $50 Little Gem ISK mic. There are similar kinds of mics that can cost many hundreds of dollars more, but when I'm this pleased with the sound of the Little Gem mic, why should I go looking for anything else? And when Benedict and I stand together at the table or sit together, I position this boom stand overhead just out of the camera's view, and the mic is pointed between us, usually a little closer to Ben than to me since I have the louder voice. And it picks both of us up beautifully, and sometimes I'll edit the sound file a bit with some compression, some noise removal, and perhaps raising Ben's volume a little bit higher than it was recorded. I enjoy and use this mic a lot. You've been listening to it as I've been talking about it, and if you listen carefully, you'll note it sounds a little different from the lav mic that I used in the first segment. There are a number of shotgun mics that are made to go on top of your camera, but in fact, that is the worst possible thing you can do. No mic is going to sound very good when it's sitting on your camera 4, 5, 6, 7 feet away from you. The number one rule of audio is to get your mic as close to you as possible. So if you have a mic sitting on your camera, take that mic off your camera. Invest in a $20 or $30 boom stand and get the mic just above your head. Usually with my Little Gem mic, it's no more than about 12 inches away from my mouth. Let's just give it the hand signal. My hand is about 6 inches, so we're talking about maybe 8 inches away from my mouth. If I mounted this mic on a camera about 6 feet away, the audio would be lousy. With audio, the distance from the mic to the speaker is everything. A $50 mic, 10 inches from the speaker's mouth, will do a far better job than a $700 mic 6 feet away. Sometimes you see me sitting at the table with this mic, this one right here. Because of the windscreen on the mic, you probably don't have any idea what brand of mic it is. And when I tell you, those of you who are really into audio are going to groan, because this is an incredibly cheap mic. It is the Behringer XM8500, which cost me about $20. Now, it does have a good reputation for being that cheap, however. You may say, why would you use such a cheap mic? Can't you afford a better mic than that? Well, yeah, I could afford to spend a little more if I really wanted to, but I don't want to. Why is that? Because after listening to how my voice sounds with this mic, I'm totally satisfied. You're hearing how it sounds right now. Once again, I'm applying the golden rule of audio. Get that mic as close to your mouth as possible. This mic right now is maybe 4 inches, 5 inches from my mouth. And the other rule that's especially important for YouTubers is to find a mic that you're satisfied with in terms of how you sound with it. Each mic has its own sound, and to be honest, I think my voice sounds pretty good with this mic. Earlier, I was really wanting to buy a $250 mic, which looked cooler and had a wonderful reputation, and maybe sometime I will, but when I listened to myself on this mic, I said, there's just nothing wrong with this sound at all. In fact, it sounds really good. So I cannot allow the fact that it only cost me $20 to force me to buy some much more expensive mic, at least for now. Now, if you see me sometime in the future with a different mic, you'll know I changed my mind, but it has given me pleasure to use such a cheap mic and to produce such nice sound. And you know what? Nobody has ever left a comment under my videos saying, you really helped me get my A1C down into the normal range, and your videos are so wonderful, but they would be so much more meaningful if only you would lose that $20 Behringer mic and start using a $1,000 Neumann mic. Nobody's ever said that, and somehow I doubt anybody ever will. Once your audio is clear and not harsh, people forget all about the audio and start paying attention to what you're saying, your ability to speak, to be engaging, to be helpful. And nobody, apart from a few audio engineers, would give a hoot about the cost of the mics you use. Well, this is a mic that I use for my voiceovers. Voiceovers refer to narration when you're speaking but you're not being seen in the video, such as in this case. Seated next to him was Ben's mom, Elizabeth, then Chijoki, her brother-in-law, and then Cornelius, her niece's husband, then her niece, Uchechi. Next was Happiness, Ben's sister, and then Ben's Aunt Rose, and then, of course, my lovely wife, Benedicta. This mic is the Audio Technica ATR2100, and it seems to work well for voiceover work. One thing I like about it is that I run it directly into my computer, which records my voice and produces a file I can start working with immediately. No need to transfer files. Actually, when I first got this mic, I really didn't like the sound of my voice with it much at all, but amazingly you can change the sound of almost any mic by a process called equalizing or EQing. And I discovered that when I cut the mid frequencies down significantly on the little mixer that the mic runs into, it sounds much, much better. The mic cost me around $45 on sale, but today you'd probably pay about $65 to $70. One final mic I want to talk about is this baby. This is called the Rhode Reporter Mic, and it is awesome for doing a quick interview when you don't want to take the time to set up a boom stand or mic yourself and somebody else with lav mics. There are 3 great things about this mic and the way that I can use it. First, I like the sound. It's a little brighter than the sound of many of my other mics, but it cuts through the background noise that you typically get when you're interviewing someone outdoors or in a conference hall. Second, when I pair this mic with this device right here, I don't have to worry about any cables at all. This device that fits on the bottom of the mic is a Tascam DR-10X digital recorder. Whenever you see me interviewing somebody with this mic, you'll see this little device at the bottom of the mic. It records beautiful audio, it boosts the audio gain a lot, and works perfectly. So this Rhode Reporter mic and this Tascam XLR recorder, which snaps onto the end of the mic, are the perfect combination. They are Batman and Robin, Laurel and Hardy, Starsky and Hutch, Martin and Lewis, Andy and Barney. Well, I think you get the idea. Now, there is one more reason I love this reporter mic. I don't know how they did it, but somehow it blocks nearly all the wind. I sometimes will interview with the Zoom recorder, but I would never take it outdoors. That Zoom recorder is terrible with wind. The slightest breeze sounds like you're in the midst of a hurricane. But the Rhode Reporter mic is just the opposite. A heavy, strong wind sounds about like a gentle summer breeze, if that. That's why I don't even put a windscreen on it. I guess I might do it if it were in 50-mile-an-hour winds, but for any normal day with moderate breeze, no worries. You'll hardly hear any wind at all. When I wanted to interview Benedicta about Nigerian soup, we stood outside our hotel and I wasn't the least bit worried about the wind. Here's the result. But we're here to talk about diet, the diet of the Nigerians. You know, I kind of think we could consider Nigeria the land of soup. What do you think?
Yeah, we surely have a lot of soup, and we've been eating it since we came.
So these are my primary mics I use for my YouTube videos. Now, a real sound professional would laugh at me for using such inexpensive mics. But again, the rule is this. Get your audio up to a level where your voice is clear, your words aren't muddled, and you sound pleasant. And after that, it's on you. If you're interesting enough, if you're helpful enough, if you're engaging enough, nobody's going to worry about the fact that you're not using a $1,000 mic and $1,000 recording units. Now, if I were making a movie with a $300 million budget, then sure, I'd get a lot more expensive mics so that when movie watchers hear the sound on those huge mega speakers in the theaters, they'd be impressed. But for YouTube videos, I can neither afford such expensive mics nor would I even buy them if I could afford them. Okay, that's about it. Hoped you enjoyed it. Mics and cameras are tools, of course, and nothing more, nothing less. What really counts is what you have to say or share. But if your tools are pathetic and unprofessional and turn people off with their poor quality, then a lot of people are never going to stick around and hear what you've got to say. If you found this video interesting or helpful, give it a thumbs up so YouTube will rank it higher in its search engine and promote it to more people. And consider subscribing to this channel. Now, we're not really all about microphones or cameras, so don't be expecting that every week. We are all about beating diabetes. God bless you. See you again soon.